All right, Mosiah chapter 7. Let's see. So we just spent the first 6 chapters of Mosiah going over King Benjamin's sermon. All the people are converted and have this great change of heart. Really a utopian sounding status with the people. I gotta warm up my voice here. So, sorry. They have this change of heart, and it's so drastic that they have no disposition to do evil, and they all enter into a covenant, and they all take upon themselves the name of Christ. And King Benjamin in the last chapter takes records of all the people that did so and appoints priests to continue to teach them and minister to them. So, chapter 7 is where the bulk of the Book of Mosiah really starts. There's a really, honestly, a pretty complex story in the Book of Mosiah, and it starts here. And it, well, honestly, it kind of starts back in Omni, so I'm sure that we will go back to Omni to really set the stage here, but let's just find out what happens. Chapter 7, Ammon finds the land of Lehi Nephi. Okay, we haven't talked about Ammon yet. Where Ammon finds the land of Lehi Nephi, where Limhi is king. Limhi's people are in bondage to the Lamanites. Limhi recounts their history. A prophet, Abinadi, had testified that Christ is the God and Father of all things. Those who sow filthiness reap the whirlwind, and those who put their trust in the Lord will be delivered. Okay. I wonder who talks about that. Is that just like Mormon's writings at the end of this chapter? We'll find out. Because Mormon, if you'll remember back in the words of Mormon, that was kind of the transition from the small plates to the large plates. And so a lot, like most of the Book of Mormon from here on out is like being narrated by Mormon. Verse 1. And now it came to pass that after King Mosiah had had continual peace for the space of 3 years, he was desirous to know concerning the people who went up to dwell in the land of Lehi Nephi, or in the city of Lehi Nephi, for his people had heard nothing from them from the time they left the land of Zarahemla. Therefore, they wearied him with their teasings. Okay, so we've got King Mosiah, we've established peace for the space of 3 years, and all of a sudden he's like, you know what? I wonder what happened to those people who went back up to the land of Lehi Nephi. And you're like, well, what are we talking about here? What people? So if we click the footnote, nope, that's the wrong footnote. Here we go. Omni. Takes us back to Omni. So I'll just click on that. It says, at the end of the book of Omni, it says, and now I would speak somewhat concerning a certain number who went up into the wilderness to return to the land of Nephi. So remember, the Nephites were they were eventually forced out of their land by the Lamanites. And that's where things kind of get confusing, is that most of the Book of Mormon, the land of Nephi actually is inhabited by Lamanites, because they took over the land of Nephi. So there's this group a number who went up into the wilderness to return to the land of Nephi. Okay, the Nephites went down to and found the land of Zarahemla, and eventually there was a small number of them that were like, you know what, we want to go back. We want to go back to our homeland and live there. So they went up into the wilderness to return to the land of Nephi, for there was a large number who were desirous to possess the land of their inheritance. So it was a good solid group that wanted to go up there. Wherefore they went up into the wilderness, and their leader being a strong and mighty man, whose name was Zeniph, as we will find out soon, and a stiff-necked man. Wherefore he caused a contention among them, and they were all slain, save 50 in the wilderness, and they returned again to the land of Zarahemla. So he goes up to let's see. He goes up to go back to the land of Nephi, and they're like, yo, we gotta, before they even get there, their leader like causes this big contention, and they all end up killing each other all the way down until there's like 50 left of them, and they don't even get to the land of Nephi. They just come back to the land of Zarahemla. And then it came to pass that they also took others to a considerable number and took their journey again into the wilderness. So then they go back to the land of Zarahemla, regroup, get more people, and they go back into the wilderness to look for the land of Nephi. And so that's the people that we're talking about in Mosiah 7, is now King Mosiah. See, that was under the reign of King Mosiah the First. And then King Mosiah the First had a son named Benjamin, and Benjamin had his whole life and was king for a long time. And then King Benjamin had a son named Mosiah. So we've got Mosiah the Second. So we've gone through like 3 generations having heard nothing of this group that went up to the land of Nephi. So Mosiah the Second is now, generations later, being like, I wonder what happened to those people. I want to know. And so we'll see what he does about it. I don't know how to say this in a not insulting way, but I don't believe that the Book of Mormon is real, and I think you should read the Bible instead. Yeah, I think people should read both. And I think that many people that think that haven't really read much of the Book of Mormon. So, verse 2, this is his course of action. And it came to pass that King Mosiah granted that 16 of their strong men might go up to the land of Nephi. And it came to pass that King Mosiah granted that 16, just 16 of them, very small group, of their strong men might go up to the land of Lehi Nephi to inquire concerning their brethren. Going to go create a search party here. And it came to pass that on the morrow they started to go up, having with them one Ammon. So here's Ammon. He being a strong and mighty man and a descendant of Zarahemla, who was the leader, obviously, of the people of Zarahemla. And he was also their leader. So Ammon is the guy that heads this search party. Verse 4, and now they knew not the course they should travel in the wilderness to go up to the land of Lehi Nephi. Therefore they wandered many days in the wilderness. Even 40 days did they wander, which is kind of weirdly symbolic. Maybe. It's weird that 40 days... I've heard that 40 days is like the Hebrew way of saying a long time. And may not necessarily be exactly 40 days. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'd have to look more into it. But they got lost. Needless to say, they got lost because they didn't know how to get to the land of Lehi Nephi. So, verse 5, and when they had wandered 40 days, they came to a hill, which is north of the land of Shilom, and there they pitched their tents. And I don't know if we know where Shilom is. Where's Shilom? We haven't heard about Shilom yet. All the footnotes point to place. We'll hear more about Shilom later. When they had wandered 40 days, they went to a hill north of the land Shilom, and there they pitched their tents. Verse 6, and Ammon took 3 of his brethren, and their names were Amaleki, Helam, and Hem, and they went down into the land of Nephi. Okay, so they found it. They found the land of Nephi. And behold, they met the king of the people who were in the land of Nephi and in the land of Shilom. And they were surrounded by the king's guard and were taken and were bound and were committed to prison. So they pull up to the land of Nephi, and it's really the land Shilom. So it's kind of confused. It's like states and cities, sort of. Like, so you can have, you know, the land of St. Louis in the land of Missouri. And so we've got this little subsection of the land of Nephi that we call Shilom. And the king of Shilom comes out, and he's got his guards with him, and which is like a peculiar thing, you know. Why is the king outside the city? What's he doing wandering around out there with his guards? But nevertheless, he was out there. He finds Ammon and his brothers, and they take him, and they just immediately bind them and cast them into prison. They're like, nope, you guys are bad guys. We'll find out later why that happened. Verse 8, and it came to pass that, so the question is like, are these guys Nephites? Are they Lamanites? Like, who are these people binding us up and throwing us into prison immediately? And it came to pass that when they had been in prison for 2 days, they were again brought before the king, and their bands were loosed. And they stood before the king, and were permitted, or rather commanded, that they should answer the questions which he should ask them. And he said unto them, behold, I am Limhi, the son of Noah, who is the son of Zeniff, who came up out of the land of Zarahemla to inherit this land, which was the land of their fathers, who was made by a king, who was made a king by the voice of the people. Okay. So now we're getting a little bit more context here. Who is this guy that bound him up? His name is Limhi. He's the son of a guy named Noah, and Noah was the son of a guy named Zeniff. Spoiler alert, once again, Zeniff, and who is Zeniff? He was the guy that led the people up to the land of Nephi. He was the guy that headed up the first huge search party for the land of Nephi. And apparently the guy that stirred up a bunch of contention and got a bunch of people killed. But nevertheless, Zeniff apparently found the land of Nephi the second time around, and they got themselves established, it looks like, and they made Zeniff their king. So Zeniff has obviously passed away by now. Noah has perhaps passed away by now. Limhi is the current king, the grandson of Zeniff. He came up out of the land of Zarahemla. Okay. And here's what Limhi has to ask Ammon and his brothers. And now I desire to know the cause whereby ye were so bold as to come near the walls of the city. I love this, dude. I desire to know the cause whereby ye were so bold as to come near the walls of the city when I myself was with my guards without the gate. So Limhi's like, who are you to have the brass to come up to the walls of the city when I was here with my guards? And you'll find out that Limhi obviously thought that they were different people. And so Ammon at this point, I'm sure, is like, what are you talking about? Why would that be a bold move to to show up to your city? I don't see that as a bold move. Limhi continues, verse 11, now for this cause have I suffered that ye should be preserved, that I might inquire of you. Or else I should have caused that my guards should have put you to death. Ye are permitted to speak. So Limhi really was just, he was like, I literally just would have killed you. But I'm honestly baffled that you just walked up to the city walls while I was out. So tell me why you did that. Tell me what's going on here, because I am flabbergasted. And Ammon, again, Ammon is just like, what are you, why? Why is this so confusing to you? Verse 12, and now when Ammon saw that he was permitted to speak, he went forth and bowed himself before the king. And rising again, he said, O king, I am very thankful before God this day that I am yet alive and am permitted to speak. And I will endeavor to speak with boldness. Verse 13, for I am assured that if ye had known me, ye would not have suffered that I should have worn these bands. He's like, if you knew who I was, you clearly don't know who I am. Otherwise, I don't think you'd be treating me this way. For I am Ammon, and I'm a descendant of Zarahemla, and have come up out of the land of Zarahemla to inquire concerning our brethren, whom Zeniph, your grandfather, brought up out of that land. We're here to just check up on you guys. Verse 14, and now it came to pass that after Limhi had heard the words of Ammon, he was exceedingly glad, and said, now I know of a surety that my brethren who were in the land of Zarahemla are yet alive, and now I will rejoice, and on the morrow I will cause that my people shall rejoice also. So they've been out of the land of Zarahemla so long that Limhi and his people were starting to wonder if the people in Zarahemla were alive. And so you wonder, well, why haven't they gone down back to Zarahemla to check? Like the people, like Ammon's doing. And we'll find out in the next verse. Verse 15, for behold, we are in bondage to the Lamanites, and are taxed with a tax which is grievous to be borne. And now, behold, our brethren will deliver us out of our bondage. You guys are here to save us, or out of the hands of the Lamanites, and we will be their slaves. For it is better that we be slaves to the Nephites than to pay tribute to the king of the Lamanites. We would rather come back to Zarahemla and be your guys' slaves than have to deal with what we're dealing with living under the Lamanites right now. Think about that, dude. Verse 16. It's interesting that they don't say that we be slaves to the Nephites rather than be slaves to the king of the Lamanites, because perhaps they may not have seen themselves as slaves to the king of the Lamanites, but just the tax that was required of them at the time was not worth being slaves to the Nephites. Or I guess it was worth. It was they saw it better to be slaves to the Nephites than to continue to pay the taxes that they were required to pay. Just an interesting thing to think about today, I think. Verse 16, and now King Limhi commanded his guards that they should no more bind Ammon nor his brethren, but caused that they should go to the hill which was north of Shilom and bring their brethren into the city. Remember, this is just Ammon and like 3 of his brethren. The rest of his party, which would be 13 people, are still camped out at the hill north of Shilom, north of where they are right now. And bring their brethren into the city. So they're like, go back to the land, go back to the hill and tell the rest of you guys to come in here. Bring them into the city, that thereby they might eat and drink and rest themselves from the labors of their journey, for they had suffered many things. They had suffered hunger, thirst, and fatigue. So cool, too, that they just, like, take care of them like that. Come on in here, get a drink, get some food, and rest up. We've got a place for you. Verse 17, and now it came to pass on the morrow that King Limhi sent a proclamation among all his people, that thereby they might gather themselves together to the temple to hear the words which he should speak unto them. So Limhi's like, I've got a big announcement here. Got to get everybody, time to hold a press conference. And it came to pass that when they had gathered themselves together, that he spake unto them in this wise, saying, O ye my people, lift up your heads and be comforted, for behold, the time is at hand, or at least, or is not far distant, very soon, when we shall no longer be in subjection to our enemies, notwithstanding our many strugglings, which have been in vain. Yet I trust there remaineth an effectual struggle to be made. Interesting. So he's indicating that they have tried to get out of bondage several times already. And here he is congregating them again and saying, I know that our past attempts have been in vain and that they haven't worked at all, but he says, I still believe we got to try again. And now we've got help this time. I think it would be easy to be like, oh, brother, dude, these guys aren't going to make a difference. Like, we're not getting out of here, bro. We've tried. Verse 19, therefore, lift up your heads and rejoice and put your trust in God, in that God who is the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, and also that God who brought the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt and caused that they should walk through the Red Sea on dry ground and fed them with manna that they might not perish in the wilderness, and many more things did he do for them. So he first is reminding them, which is so powerful. It's like of the classic, the all-time ultimate classic example of the children of God being in bondage and being delivered in a miraculous way. That's the first thing that King Limhi brings up with his people. Remember the God that brought the children out of Egypt, because when you do, you will have faith that we can get, if they could get out of that situation, we can get out of this one. Verse 20, and again, that same God has brought our fathers out of the land of Jerusalem. Okay, not only did he bring the children of Israel out of Egypt, he brought our fathers out of Jerusalem, and has kept and preserved his people even until now. And behold, it is because of our iniquities and abominations that he has brought us into bondage. Remember that the only reason that we're here is because of our iniquities and abominations in the first place. But perhaps he's suggesting that we have repented and it's time to be delivered. Verse 21, and ye all are witnesses this day, that Zeniff, who was made king over this people, he being overzealous to inherit the land of his fathers, therefore being deceived by the cunning and craftiness of King Laman, who, having entered into a treaty with King Zeniff, and having yielded up into his hands the possessions of a part of the land, or even the city of Lehi Nephi and the city of Shilom in the land round about, and all this he did for the sole purpose of bringing this people into subjection or into bondage. And behold, we at this time do pay tribute to the king of the Lamanites, to the amount of 1/2 of our corn and our barley, and even all our grain of every kind, and 1/2 of the increase of our flocks and our herds, and even 1/2 of all we have or possess, the king of the Lamanites doth exact of us, or our lives. Half of all your stuff, or we kill you. He recounts a lot of what Zeniff did. And we'll get the extended version of that. The question is, how did King Limhi and his people even get into this mess to begin with? He gives us a very brief summary of what Zeniff did to get him into this situation. We will get the extended version in a couple chapters. But yeah, Zenith basically got conned, and now his grandson and his people are still paying the price for it. Verse 23, and now, is not this grievous to be borne? And is not this our affliction great? Now behold, how great reason we have to mourn. We have a good the situation that we are in does warrant us to mourn. It is grievous. 24, yea, I say unto you, great are the reasons which we have to mourn. For behold, how many of our brethren have been slain, and their blood has been spilt in vain, and all because of iniquity. By the way, I do want to point out that if you add up all the taxes that we pay today, I think there's a lot that goes into it as far as like adding all of it up. I've heard good arguments that it's a little less than half. I've heard arguments that it's a little more than half. All I'm saying is that we are also paying a lot of taxes today. And that's all I'll say about that. 24, yea, I say unto you, great are the reasons which we have to mourn. For behold, how many of our brethren have been slain, and their blood has been spilt in vain, and all because of iniquity. For if this people had not fallen into transgression, the Lord would not have suffered that this great evil should come upon them. But behold, they would not hearken unto his words, but there arose contentions among them, even so much that they did shed blood among themselves. That contention, dude. It's like they wouldn't hearken unto his words, and the result of that, as it always has been and always will be, was contention. And it escalated so much that they literally started killing each other. 26, and a prophet of the Lord have they slain, which we will also read about, Abinadi. Yea, a chosen man of God, who told them of their wickedness and abominations, and prophesied of many things which are to come, yea, even the coming of Christ. And why did they slay him? For prophesying of Christ. 27, and because he said unto them that Christ was the God, the Father of all things, and said that he should take upon him the image of man, and it should be the image after which man was created in the beginning. Or in other words, he said that man was created after the image of God, and that God should come down among the children of men and take upon him flesh and blood and go forth upon the face of the earth. And now, because he said this, they did put him to death. And many more things did they do which brought down the wrath of God upon them. Therefore, who wondereth that they are in bondage, and that they are smitten with sore afflictions? No wonder we're here. But that's also interesting. I mean, wasn't that what the Nephites were kind of believing in the first place? A few chapters from now, we'll find out, we'll get a better idea of what they were believing at the time and why this doctrine conflicted with them. Because they're Nephites, you know? And the Nephites, I mean, for the most part, believed in Christ. But it's something about what Abinadi was saying about Christ that they seem to have a big problemo with. For behold, the Lord hath said, I will not succor my people in the day of their transgression, but I will hedge up their ways that they prosper not, and their doings shall be as a stumbling block before them. That sounds like Isaiah. Joshua and 1 Samuel. Is that footnote? The stumbling block is Jeremiah. Okay. Verse 30, and again he saith, if my people shall sow filthiness, they shall reap the chaff thereof in the whirlwind, and the effect thereof is poison. Now, where are we getting that phrase from? Hosea. Yep, there it is. For they have sown the wind, and they shall reap the whirlwind. It hath no stalk. The bud shall yield no meal. If so be it yield, the strangers shall swallow it up. So Limhi's like quoting scripture to them. He saith, if my people shall sow filthiness, they shall reap the chaff thereof in the whirlwind, and the effect thereof is poison. And again he saith, if my people shall sow filthiness, they shall reap the east wind, which bringeth immediate destruction. What's up with the east wind? And behold, 7 ears withered thin, and blasted with the east wind sprung up after them. What is that talking about? Genesis 41? Somebody has a dream? Oh, it's the Pharaoh's dream. Pharaoh dreams of the cattle and the ears of grain. So this is like the dream of 7 years of famine and 7 years of plenty. And I saw in my dream, and behold, 7 ears came up in one stalk full and good. And behold, 7 ears withered thin, and blasted with the east wind sprung up after them. Okay, I gotta find out what the east wind is all about. Let's ask ChatGPT. What's up with the east wind? Destroying everything in the Old Testament. The east wind is one of the Bible's most powerful recurring symbols. It appears throughout the Old Testament as an instrument of God's judgment, power, and sovereignty. While it doesn't always bring destruction, it almost always brings something harsh, overwhelming, or transformative. Transformative, I think, is a key word there. Why the east wind? In the lands of Israel and Egypt, an east wind typically came from the eastern deserts, the Arabian desert and Syrian desert. Unlike the cool, moist winds from the Mediterranean in the west, the east wind was hot, dry, often violent, capable of withering crops and vegetation, associated with drought and desolation. Because of its real-world effects, it became a fitting symbol for God's judgment. Examples of east wind: Egypt's famine, blasted with the east wind. The Exodus, God brought the plague of locusts by an east wind. The Red Sea, interestingly, the east wind is also used for salvation. So the same wind that brings upon judgment brings salvation. The Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind. Jonah, after God causes the plant shading Jonah to wither, he sends a vehement west. I did not just say west, bro. He sends a vehement east wind. The wind makes Jonah miserable and exposes his heart, becoming both a physical hardship and a spiritual lesson. Psalms and the prophets, the east wind frequently symbolizes the destruction of nations. Yeah, okay. Is there deeper symbolism? Many biblical scholars see the east wind as representing more than just weather, judgment against sin and rebellion, the removal of human pride and self-sufficiency, God's irresistible power which no nation can withstand, purification where judgment prepares the way for restoration. It's also worth noting that in biblical geography, the east often has symbolic associations. That's also what I'm noticing. After the fall, Adam and Eve were driven eastward from Eden. Cain settled east of Eden. People journey eastward in the story of the Tower of Babel. While the Bible doesn't make the east itself inherently evil, it is sometimes associated with exile and movement away from God's presence, making the east wind an especially fitting image of judgment. Yeah, that is interesting. Okay. Well, let's get back to where we were. Oh, boy. Almost made it to the end here. And now behold the promise of the Lord. And now behold the promise of the Lord is fulfilled, and ye are smitten and afflicted. Behold, the promise of the Lord is fulfilled, and ye are smitten and afflicted. Yeah, they're in bondage now. But if ye will return to the Lord with full purpose of heart, and put your trust in him, and serve him with all diligence of mind, if ye do this, he will, according to his own will and pleasure, deliver you out of bondage. Native Americans are from Siberia. Interesting. Thank you for sharing. Chapter 8. Ammon teaches the people of Limhi. So now it's Ammon's turn to talk to the people. He learns of the 24 Jaredite plates. Ancient records can be translated by seers. No gift is greater than seership. No gift is greater than seership. That's a wild thing. That's a wild thing, dude. Okay. And it came to pass that after King Limhi had made an end of speaking to his people, for he spake many things unto them, and only a few of them have I written in this book, he told his people all the things concerning their brethren who were in the land of Zarahemla. Wait, came to pass that after King Limhi had made an end of speaking to his people, side note, he spake a lot of stuff, haven't written everything that he said in this book. He told them everything concerning their brethren who were in the land of Zarahemla. And he caused that Ammon should stand up before the multitude. I'd like to turn the time over to Ammon. And rehearse unto them all that had happened unto their brethren from the time that Zeniff went up out of the land, even until the time that he himself came up out of the land. So he says, and now Ammon's going to brief us on what was going on in Zarahemla this whole time. Verse 3, and he also rehearsed unto them the last words which King Benjamin had taught them, and explained to them the people of King Limhi, and explained them to the people of King Limhi, so that they might understand all the words which he spake. Had to expound a little bit on King Benjamin's sermon. But it's cool that he brought it up to him. Like that he's clearly been very impacted by that sermon. Verse 4, and it came to pass that after he had done all this, that King Limhi dismissed the multitude and caused that they should return every one unto his own house. Verse 5, and it came to pass that he caused that the plates which contained the record of his people from the time that they left the land of Zarahemla, and it came to pass that he caused that the plates which contained the record of his people from the time that they left the land of Zarahemla should be brought before Ammon, that he might read them. So that's he's getting the record, the extended version of the story of Zenith that we're going to read. We're going to start reading next chapter. Now, as soon as Ammon had read the record, the king inquired of him to know if he could interpret languages, and Ammon told him that he could not. I can't do it. And the king said unto him, being grieved for the afflictions of my people, I caused... Well, okay, so Ammon's like, why? No, I can't interpret languages. Why do you ask? And the king said unto him, being grieved for the afflictions of my people, I caused that 43 of my people should take a journey into the wilderness, that thereby they might find the land of Zarahemla, that we might appeal unto our brethren to deliver us out of bondage. So he's like, well, here's why. Because I got a group of 43 people and sent them down to Zarahemla in order to free us, because we needed help. I sent a party down to find Zarahemla again so that they could bring people back up here to get us, whatever you call it, to free us. I'm traveling right now. One of my sons is returning home from his mission in Ecuador tomorrow. Keep it up, brother. Dude, that's awesome. Good for him. Oh no. We just hit the 88,500 record. And now your son is lowering the number. Good for him, dude. That's really cool. My younger brother and my mom actually served in Argentina, so not very close to Ecuador, if I understand correctly, but both in South America. So, if that means anything. Let's see. Oh, I didn't read this. So yeah, Limhi's like, here's why I need you to interpret languages, because I sent a party down to look for Zarahemla. They didn't find it, but here's what they did find. Verse 8, and they were lost in the wilderness for the space of many days. Yet they were diligent, and found not the land of Zarahemla, but returned to this land, having traveled in a land among many waters, having discovered a land which was covered with bones of men and of beasts, and was also covered with ruins of buildings of every kind, having discovered a land which had been peopled with a people who were as numerous as the hosts of Israel. Lot of people. So they found this like these abandoned ruins of not just like a tiny village, but like a lot of people. Verse 9, and for a testimony to prove that they found this place, that the things that they had said are true, they have brought 24 plates, which are filled with engravings, and they are of pure gold. So there was gold plates brought by these guys. Verse 10, and behold, also they have brought breastplates, which are large, and they are of brass and of copper, and are perfectly sound. Dude, kind of interesting that he says that he makes note how big they are. They brought breastplates which are large. These were not just inhabited by a people, but like a big people. Like so big that you make note of it. That's just kind of crazy. And they are of brass and of copper and are perfectly sound. Verse 11, and again they have brought swords, and the hilts thereof have perished, and the blades thereof were cankered with rust, and there is no one in the land that is able... Oh, the blades thereof were cankered with rust. I believe this is... They're talking about the swords the hilts thereof have perished, and the blades were cankered with rust, as if to say, they've been sitting there a long time. And there is no one in the land that is able to interpret the language or the engravings that are on the plates. Therefore, I said unto thee, canst thou translate? Therefore, that's why I asked you if you could translate languages, because we've got this plates here, these gold plates with this language of, it's a record of these people, but nobody can read it. Verse 12, and I say unto thee again, knowest thou of anyone that can translate? Okay, maybe you can't translate. Do you know anyone that can? For I am desirous that these records should be translated into our language, for perhaps they will give us a knowledge of a remnant of the people who have been destroyed, from whence these records came. Or perhaps they will give us a knowledge of this very people who have been destroyed. And I am desirous to know the cause of their destruction. Wait a minute. Did he not just ask the same thing twice? Perhaps they will give us a knowledge. Oh, I see. So he says, I want these records translated because maybe they'll tell us about a remnant of the people. Maybe they're still out there somewhere. You know, we know that a lot of them were destroyed because their bones are here, but maybe there's like a remnant of them somewhere that we can go find. Or if not that, perhaps they will give us a knowledge of this very people who have been destroyed. Maybe the record, maybe the record is of the very people that were destroyed. You know, the first suggestion is maybe there was a remnant, like their descendants wrote about about the people that were destroyed, and we get a cool story from them. But maybe this is a record of the actual people that were destroyed. Either way, I want to know who these people were and why they all died. What caused this destruction? Oh, that's so cool, dude. By the way, we find out, but it's not going to be until almost the end of the whole Book of Mormon. Verse 13. Now Ammon said unto him, I can assuredly tell thee, O king, of a man that can translate the records. I do know a guy that can, for he has wherewith that he can look and translate all records that are of ancient date. And it is a gift from God. Like, what a freaking crazy gift. You know, I wonder. See, it's a gift from God. It's, you know, notice that he's like, yeah, I do know a guy that can translate records. He said nothing about King Mosiah's like degree that he had in Jaredite language. He's like, yeah, it's not because he studied for 25 years ancient documents and learned. He said, yeah, he can do it because he can look at records and translate them, dude. I don't know how he does it. It's a gift from God. He uses these things, though. Verse 13, continuing, and the things are called interpreters, and no man can look in them except he be commanded. What a strange thing, dude. What a strange device. What a strange device to actually be real. No man can look in them except he be commanded, lest he should look for that he ought not, and he should perish. What? What's the consequences for looking through the interpreters if you're not commanded? You find what you ought not, and you perish. That's freaking nuts. And whosoever is commanded to look in them, the same is called seer. 14, and behold, the king of the people who are in the land of Zarahemla is the man that is commanded to do these things, and who has this high gift from God. So he's not only the seer, but he's literally the king of the people. What's up, Tybalt? Always good to have you here. And the king said that a seer is greater than a prophet. the king says that. Ammon's telling him about the seer and like what the seer is. And the king of the people who are in the land of Zarahemla is the man that is commanded to do these things and who has this high gift from God. So he's telling him about all, what a seer does and what his role is. And the king hears that and he's like, bro, that's like, if what you're saying is true, like a seer is even greater than a prophet. And Ammon to that says, and Ammon said that a seer is a revelator and a prophet also. Square rectangle, question mark? He's reading it, Red. Yes. Whether it's true is up for debate with people, but but it is real. Here it is. And Ammon said that a seer is a revelator and a prophet also. And a gift which is greater can no man have, except he should possess the power of God, which no man can. Yet a man may have great power given him from God. Okay, Hammond, what are we saying, bro? A seer is a revelator and a prophet also. Every seer is a prophet, but not every prophet is a seer, perhaps. And a gift, this gift of seeing, which is greater, can no man have. A gift which is greater than this can no man have. So it doesn't get greater than this. Except he should possess the power of God. Unless he just is literally God, and no man can possess the power of God. Yet, a man might have great power given him from God. He gets to use it from time to time. Verse 17, but a seer can know of things which are past, and also of things which are to come, and by them shall all things be revealed. Or rather, shall secret things be made manifest, and hidden things shall come to light, and things which are not known shall be made known by them. By them. Not the people who go to school for it. Not the people who find stuff. Not the people who, that's what I feel like the lesson is here. It's like, as far as truth, as far as God's truth, as far as revealing things from the past and things that are in the future, truly, that job is not for the historians or the archaeologists or for the mediums or the psychics. It's for the seers. It's for God's chosen, God's appointed seers. And things which are not known shall be made known by them, and also things shall be made known by them which otherwise could not be known. Thus God has provided a means that man, through faith, might work mighty miracles. Therefore he becometh a great benefit to his fellow beings. And now when Ammon had made an end of speaking these words, the king rejoiced exceedingly and gave thanks to God. He gave thanks to God, saying, doubtless a great mystery is contained within these plates, and these interpreters were doubtless prepared for the purpose of unfolding all such mysteries to the children of men. See, even back then, you've got this guy who's like, he's like, surely if we get these plates, he's saying there's a reason to all this. We didn't stumble upon these plates for no reason. He says, doubtless there's something important contained within here. And if there is, that being the case, Surely these interpreters were prepared by God, the same person orchestrating this whole thing, everything. He said there's a record here and that there's interpreters. Surely then there must be interpreters prepared by the same being who preserved the records to interpret the records. And it's all for the purpose of unfolding these important mysteries to the children of men. And if it was that way back then, surely it would be the same case today. The seer stone is the only relic the church has shown us. Yeah, and dude, the seer stones are just interesting things to me. It's only been in recent years that I feel like I've paid them the respect that they deserve. It's like they're so mystical, and like we've kind of like Dungeons and Dragonified them. And that's just kind of the category that we put them in. But they're actually like a real thing. And history, like it wasn't just like this weird thing that Joseph Smith just like made up and was like, oh yeah, I got a rock that shows me stuff. It's there's been that concept was honestly accepted for centuries. And to me, you know, in my opinion, stuff like that just doesn't stick through the generations unless there's truth to it. Sure, a lot of the truth might get lost and things will get corrupted, but to say that it's just all a bunch of hooey is inaccurate, I think. The type of stone is called a Genesis stone, which I thought was pretty neat. That is interesting. I didn't know that. Let's finish this chapter really quick. Verse 20. Oh, how marvelous are the works of the Lord. See, he's just, I love this, dude. Limhi's just getting that, he's getting that testimony. He's seeing it all, dude. He's like, it's all here. This is not, life is not just this random thing that blew up in the cosmos, dude. This is all an orchestrated thing. Oh, how marvelous are the works of the Lord, and oh, how long doth he suffer with his people. Yea, and how blind and impenetrable are the understandings of the children of men. For they will not seek wisdom, neither do they desire that she should rule over them. Who's she? Lady Wisdom? Wisdom, a feminine noun in Hebrew and Greek. Yeah, that was Rush. Rush wrote a lot about that. And it's true. Strangely, like wisdom is like personified by a woman. Wisdom hath builded her house. She hath hewn out her 7 pillars. And even in Matthew 11, the Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, behold, a man, gluttonous and a winebibber, a friend of publicans and sinners. But wisdom is justified of her children. Neither do they desire that she should rule over them. Interesting. Verse 21, yea, they are as a wild flock which fleeth from the shepherd and scattereth and are driven and are devoured by the beasts of the forest. One of my favorite verses. Yeah. And Nephi has one similar to that at the end of 2nd Nephi that I love too. But yeah, it is a great verse. But to punctuate it, I'll read 21 again. Yea, they are as a wild flock which fleeth from the shepherd and scattereth and are driven and are devoured by the beasts of the forest. Yikes. All right. Sounds like people of today. Yeah. No kidding. They just don't seek wisdom. See, and that's what I'm saying, dude. Can I just kind of pop off for a second? It's just the society, dude. It's just that we're we don't seek wisdom because nobody has the time. And it's because of we're in the exact same situation. In my opinion, we're in the exact same situation as Limhi. We're all in this great bondage, but the difference is that we just don't even realize it. We're in denial about it. And we don't seek wisdom. The things of the Lord are very low on everybody's priority list, whether they admit it or not, because the fruit, see, I can tell where your priorities lie with what you do in a 24-hour day, in a 7-day week. You know, we say that the Lord is the most important thing in our lives, but what's really the most important thing in our lives is our money, our careers, our jobs. We got to do that first because we've got mouths to feed, right? But nobody thinks about, like, how did we get here in the first place? If we've got to work 9 to 10 hours a day in order to feed our families, why don't we think for 2 seconds of how we got there? You know, and as soon as we come home from work, then we've got our chores to do, and then our kids got schoolwork that we got to worry about, and we've got, you know, maybe we've got a church function, but we don't even care about we've lost the meaning behind even the church functions. We care more that the church functions that we're in charge of just look good and go according to plan, rather than if they're making a difference and making people more Christ-like. It's more about going through the motions, and a lot of times we don't even have time for the church functions. And it's like, you know, we've got sports, we've got our kids' baseball game, we've got our jobs to do. In fact, we work 9 hours a day, and then we go home, and we just got to think about how the next day is going to be at work, and what we got to do for work in the coming week, and how we can get the promotion, and how we can, you know, and then we've got to stay physically fit. Then we got to go to the gym. Then we got to, you know, we've created a society that doesn't even allow you to live, to eat food and be sustained unless you sacrifice the word of God and wisdom. There's no time for meditation and pondering and reading and thinking, and you know, it's all of that stuff. You don't get paid for any of that, and so we've deemed it as a thing that has zero value. Nobody wants to be told what to do. Wisdom is bondage to them, when really it sets you free. Yeah, that... Man, me and my good friend, we have been pondering and discussing a lot about that concept. Again, I think even not just Western society, but because of Western society, that even the Church of Jesus Christ currently, we just have so many things backwards, dude. And I think that the death of tradition is on the horizon. The record of Zenith, an account of his people from the time they left the land of Zarahemla until the time that they were delivered out of the hands of the Lamanites. And I think we're going to start the record of Zenith today. Let's see how long verse 10 is. Yeah, we might... well, let's see where we get. I'll kind of just read until I feel like there's a good stopping point here. But I do want to point out once again, because it's so easy to get lost in the Book of Mosiah. But again, we are flashing back now. Okay, we are now at about 200 to 187 BC. Up until this point, we've been at like 121 BC. And back a little bit further, 124 BC. And oh, okay, 124. Not as far back as I thought, but a flashback nonetheless, because now we're going to the record. Okay, we've heard. I'll just try to briefly sum up the context once again. You are right. Life is made impossibly too busy. It's tough. Yeah, dude. I think things are going to change in very miraculous ways. So, chapter 9. Okay, in the Book of Omni, we heard of a group of people that went up to find. We're all in Zarahemla now. We got kicked out of the Nephites got kicked out of their own land by the Lamanites. They had to run away. They came down and they found the land of Zarahemla, who was already inhabited by a bunch of people who also came from Jerusalem. So they come together and they're all friendly and everybody's happy. And then there's a large group of people that are like, you know what? We want to go back to the land of Nephi and reclaim our land. We don't like the fact that the Lamanites just came in and kicked us out, and we're going to go back and reclaim it. That was led by a man named Zenith. Okay. And so Zenith goes up. He is not that great of a guy, but he's a large and mighty man. He's a very zealous man, overzealous, it says. And he causes this big contention among the people while they're on their way to the land of Lehi Nephi. And they don't even get there before they just start killing each other. And there's like 50 of them left. And they're like, you know what? Let's just go back to Zarahemla. This was stupid. So they come back to Zarahemla, and then when they get back to Zarahemla, there's a lot more people that are like, "Hey, you know what? Let's go try again. We won't kill each other this time. Let's go find the land of Nephi." So they go back up, and they do find it. But the record's being kept in Zarahemla. All we know about is Zarahemla. So eventually, like a couple generations go by, and Mosiah, who is the king by now, is like, send a search party up, send Ammon and 15 other dudes up, and go find out what happened to Zenith and his people. It's been generations. We haven't heard a thing from him. I want to know what happened to him. And so Ammon's like, bet. So they go up there, and that's who we just read about. They run into King Limhi, who is Zenith's grandson. And so Ammon's like, here's what's been going on in Zarahemla the whole time that you guys have been up here. And Limhi's like, yay, we're going to be delivered from bondage now. And now he's like, okay, Ammon, here's the record of Zenith. Here, let me, now it's our turn to brush you up on things. Here's what has happened to our people since we arrived here in the land of Lehi Nephi. So we've got this, that time period from when Zenith left to the generations going by and Limhi being the king now and Ammon finding them. We've got chapters 9 through 22 to cover that time period. Once we get to 22, we'll read a little bit of Alma, but at the end of Mosiah, we all congregate back into the land of Zarahemla. It's just like a pretty cool. There's like several different storylines, but yeah, we're flashing back, and we're gonna get back to where we just left off. Zenith leads a group from Zarahemla to possess the land of Lehi Nephi. The Lamanite king permits them to inherit the land. There is war between the Lamanites and Zenith's people. Who would have freaking suspected that, dude? Who would have predicted that? Verse 1. That's what I always wonder. It's like, what, Zenith just like thought he could go up there and be like, hey, we're back. Can we have some land? And they'd be like, oh, yeah, sure. Oh, Zenith. Verse 1. I, Zenith, having been taught in all the language of the Nephites, and having had a knowledge of the land of Nephi, or of the land of our fathers' first inheritance, and having been sent as a spy among the Lamanites, that I might spy out their forces, that our army might come upon them and destroy them. But when I saw that which was good among them, I was desirous that they should not be destroyed. That's interesting. So he gets sent as a spy among the Lamanites, and he goes, he spies on the Lamanites, and he realizes, he's like, you know what? These are like good people. Why are we trying to destroy them? And he doesn't want to destroy them. He's like, okay, they took over our land, but like they're actually a good people. I guess it makes a little more sense that he'd be like, you know what, I'm going to go up there and be like, hey, I just want to live with you guys. Verse 2, therefore I contended with my brethren in the wilderness. So that's why the contention started. So remember, he goes up and they're in the wilderness, and all we heard was that there was a contention and that they started killing each other until there were 50 of them left. Now we're learning why there was contention in the first place. Because they all get up to the land of Lehi Nephi, and then Zeniff's like, okay, I'm going to go spy it out before we go in there and try to fight our way for some land. And then he's like, oh my gosh, dude, these are good people and I don't want to kill them. So he comes back to his little band and he's like, bad news, everyone. I don't actually think we should kill them. So I'm sure that was not received well. Verse 2, therefore I contended with my brethren in the wilderness, for I would that our ruler should make a treaty with them. But he being an austere... Wait a minute. What? I thought Zeniff was the leader. No, he wasn't the leader. He was made leader after they returned for the second time and actually got the land. So who was the leader? Who was this guy? And we heard about him in Omni. I said it was Zeniff, but it's not. He's just this big, great, bloodthirsty man, apparently. And Zeniff was just a spy, and he came back and stood up to the leader. Therefore, I contended with my brethren in the wilderness, for I would that our ruler... I do think we get the name of the ruler, but maybe we don't. For I would that our ruler should make a treaty with them. But he, being an austere and a bloodthirsty man, commanded that I should be slain. No, we're killing the Lamanites and we're killing you. But I was rescued by the shedding of much blood, for father fought against father, and brother against brother, until the great number of our army was destroyed in the wilderness. And we returned, those of us that were spared, to the land of Zarahemla to relate that tale to their wives and their children. Dude, and okay, I'm going to freaking kind of pop off again very briefly. Just think about that, dude. Think about that and the wars going on today. I feel like there is a great foreshadow here. You know, this is why we have civil wars. This is what that was. And we've heard from modern brethren that there is a civil war that is to come that dwarfs the first civil war. And it's described exactly this way, that father fights against father, brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor. And it's like, what causes that? And what caused it here is that you have a people, you have a culture that looks at another people as the bad guys. And they're like, these are all evil people over here in this land. We don't like these people. They're bad people. But then you have a good person that actually goes and sees for themselves. And they're like, you know what, dude? We got it all wrong. They're actually good people. And you come back with that news, and to the people that still haven't seen it for themselves, or maybe even just interpret it incorrectly and are too blind to see, they're like, no, dude, you're one of them now. You're a bad guy now. Think about that, dude. Could that be applied to our day? I think so. And I think it will be. I think it already is. Verse 3, and yet I, being overzealous to inherit the land of our fathers. Okay, he did want the land still. Collected as many as were desirous to go up to possess the land, and started again on our journey into the wilderness to go up to the land. But we were smitten with famine and sore afflictions, for we were slow to remember the Lord our God. So Zeniff goes up for the second time, and the journey is very slow. They forget to remember the Lord their God, and he makes it tough. Nevertheless, after many days, wandering in the wilderness, we pitched our tents in the place where our brethren were slain, which was near to the land of our fathers. Kind of an interesting place to pitch your tents again. Like, hey, let's set up camp back in the graveyard. Yikes. Traumatic. Verse 5, and it came to pass that I went again with 4 of my men into the city, in unto the king, that I might know of the disposition of the king. Okay, I'm going to go into the king and meet this guy. Who is he? The people seem to be good, and I want to know for myself and who the king is. And that I might know if I might go in with my people and possess the land in peace. And I went in unto the king, and he covenanted with me that I might possess the land of Lehi Nephi and the land of Shilom. Verse 7, and he also commanded that his people should depart out of the land. And I and my people went into the land that we might possess it. So he takes everybody out of Shilom, and he's like, here, you can have Shilom. And I'll get everybody out, and you can just live in Shilom. Seems a little too good to be true. It was. Verse 8, and we began to build buildings and to repair the walls of the city, yea, even the walls of the city of Lehi Nephi and the city of Shilom. And we began to till the ground, yea, even with all manner of seeds, with seeds of corn and of wheat and of barley, and with neas, and with sheum, and with I have no idea what those are, and with seeds of all manner of fruits, and we did begin to multiply and prosper in the land. Now it was the cunning and the craftiness of King Laman to bring my people into bondage, that he yielded up the land that we might possess it. So Zeniff's writing this in hindsight, obviously. He's like, yeah, it turns out he just gave us the land so that he could just tax the crap out of us. Verse 11, therefore it came to pass that after we had dwelt in the land for the space of 12 years, that King Laman began to grow uneasy, lest by any means my people should wax strong in the land, and that they could not overpower them and bring them into bondage. Sounds very, very similar to Pharaoh's deal with the children of Israel. There's this pattern we see of like people want land, they want a home, and we're like, okay, you can have it. Here's a home. And then they start growing, and then the people that gave them the home are like, they're getting a little too prosperous, getting a little too powerful. We need to keep them under control. Keep your eyes peeled for that today. Verse 12. Now they were okay. And here's the real truth behind it. Now they were a lazy and an idolatrous people. Therefore they were desirous to bring us into bondage, that they might glut themselves with the labors of our hands. Not that they were actually that worried about us overpowering them, but just because they wanted more stuff from us, and they didn't want to work for it. That they might glut themselves with the labors of our hands, yea, that they might feast themselves upon the flocks of our fields. Therefore it came to pass that King Laman began to stir up his people that they should contend with my people. Now King Laman is painting them to be the bad guys. Therefore there began to be wars and contentions in the land. For in the 30th year of my reign in the land of Nephi, away on the south of the land of Shilom, when my people were watering and feeding their flocks and tilling their lands, a numerous host of Lamanites came upon them and began to slay them, and to take off their flocks and the corn of their fields. They just came in and started killing them. 15, yea, and it came to pass that they fled, all that were not overtaken, even into the city of Nephi, and did call upon me for protection. And it came to pass that I did arm them with bows and with arrows, with swords and with scimitars, and with clubs and with slings, and with all manner of weapons which we could invent. And I and my people did go forth against the Lamanites to battle. Yea, in the strength of the Lord did we go forth to battle against the Lamanites. For I and my people did cry mightily to the Lord that he would deliver us out of the hands of our enemies. For we were awakened to a remembrance of the deliverance of our fathers. There it is again, dude, that prayer of being in bondage and seeking miraculous deliverance. Verse 18, and God did hear our cries and did answer our prayers. Imagine how unlikely it would be for Zeniff's people to win this war against the well-established Lamanites. God did hear our cries and did answer our prayers, and we did go forth in his might. Yea, we did go forth against the Lamanites. And in one day and a night, we did slay 3,043. We did slay them even until we had driven them out of our land. Very unlikely, I think. And I myself with mine own hands did help to bury their dead. And behold, to our great sorrow and lamentation, 279 of our brethren were slain. 279 to 3,043. I think that's a W. I will stop there, but I do want to say really quick that I think you could say, just kind of continuing on my point from earlier, I think you could see this and be like, look at hindsight. Like, it's interesting that Zeniff spies on the Lamanites and he's like, you know what? These are actually a good people. And he gets this testimony that they're nice people. They're good people. And so he goes in and he's like, I want to actually go talk to the Lamanites. The Nephites growing up in Zarahemla, all we've heard about the Lamanites is that they're just these mean and nasty and bloodthirsty people, and they want to kill all of us. I'm seeing something different here. And so I want to go to the king. I want to see if the ruler, the very king himself, is as nasty as they say he is. And he goes in and he's like, you know what? The king's pretty cool. He gave us, he's just like, yeah, please live among us. And then he says, then he in hindsight, then you start to think, well, okay, well, actually the Lamanites, maybe the Nephites were right about the Lamanites, because turns out it was all just a ploy to put them under bondage. And I wonder, was it all the people of the Lamanites? I have a feeling that a lot of the Lamanites were actually good people. And that's what Zeniff saw. But perhaps the king was not a very good person. And perhaps it was the king that blinded the people of the Lamanites and tricked them. That's what it says. It says in verse 13, it distinctly says it wasn't just the people of the Lamanites that just randomly started to collectively get pissed off at the Nephites, but it says it was the king. It was King Laman that stirred them up, that they should contend with my people. As if to say that I still don't think that the Lamanites here just had these terrible, rotten hearts and hate and were hateful people. But it wasn't until King Laman, the leader, who actually may have been bad and had bad intentions and was lazy and just wanted people in bondage and wanted to glut himself, that he then painted the Nephites, painted the people of Zeniff out to be these terrible people, so that the people with good hearts saw them as enemies. And can that be applied to today? I think so. I think so, dude. That's why, we can't freaking... It's not that there isn't any truth to stereotypes, but the concept behind a stereotype is just destructive. I'm not saying that an extraordinary number of people within a certain group might have hostile motives. But if we just start saying that everyone within the group has hostile motives, it's destructive. That's bad. And I think that there's value, and not only is there great value, but it's essential. It's going to be essential, if it's not already, to get to know individuals, dude. We can't make judgments based on stereotypes. We can do things based on stereotypes. You know, we got to do the best with the data that we have, but it's how we treat individuals. That is what it ultimately comes down to. That's what Jesus's whole freaking agenda was about. It's how we treat individuals. The Good Samaritan, dude, did not matter that the person in need was the enemy. He knew that we're all just people. We're all individuals. And when we start just grouping people and creating enemies out of groups of people, therein lies destruction. So that's my spiel for today. So yeah, we're gonna just continue the record of Zenith, and we just keep going with this story until chapter 22. So try to stay with us, because again, you get lost fast here. But I will see you guys in the